Hello, everybody, and welcome into Texas Live number 78. As always, Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. We really appreciate you guys being here. Now, let's just jump into this because we usually do a game recap. I think we pretty much summed it up, and we're screaming into the void like always. So let's just kind of mold this together into this question. Is this season a failure? Gerald, I will let you tackle this one first. Do you consider this one a failure?
It's hard for me to say that the season itself is a failure, right? For a couple of different reasons. One, like, if Texas doesn't play like complete trash against Florida, we're sitting exactly where most people thought Texas would be right now, right? We're one loss ahead of where Texas is right now. I think it feels a lot worse for Texas fans because A&M and Texas Tech are both really good this year. And so like that comparative of like the other two big state schools are having really great historic seasons for them. Like strength of schedule notwithstanding, Texas Tech has one loss. A&M is undefeated for the first time, or 10-0 for the first time in since World War II or whatever. But like, so the comparison of that makes it feel a lot worse for Texas fans. And part of like my hesitation to call this like a complete failure is because like we were all kind of over our skis, ahead of our skis a little bit on this. I think, a lot of the national conversation around Texas and got us to all drink a lot of the Kool-Aid. And frankly, like, I said it on Saturday. If you had told me, like blind ranking, that like a team is losing its starting quarterback, losing 3 of 5 offensive linemen, replacing its top 3 wide receivers and the tight end, and is missing key pieces from the defense, like I would not have picked them to win the national championship or even to be super competitive all year. We're in a like post-Saban, post-NIL world where like these kinds of rebuilding years are kind of unacceptable for a lot of reasons. And so like it's a struggle to say that it's a failed season because Texas legitimately can go 9-3 this year and beat its 3 biggest rivals in OU, A&M, and Arkansas this upcoming week. That being said, having those 3 wins and still looking at OU and A&M probably in the college football playoff sucks, right? And so it sucks. This year has been frustrating in a lot of ways, but a failed season, it's hard for me to go that far.
Yeah, I think this is a super nuanced conversation because, I think one of our first 4 or 5 shows together, we kind of had like preseason predictions going into the season before we actually, set them into stone. And I was saying 9-3, 10-2. And then my issue was just like everyone else, I'm prone to reading national outlets. So national outlets are telling me, this is a top 5 team. Lindy's, Athlon, Sports Illustrated, all saying this is a top 5 team, number 1 or number 2 team for most of these publications in the country. And I fell for it and I kept bumping mine up. I went to 10-2, then I went to 11-1, and that's where I ended. But my gut feeling at the beginning of the season, February, March, was 9-3. So I believe as long as this team wins out, goes 9-3, I think I can't really say they underachieved because of my gut. The whole time I was thinking 9-3. And the most important thing is Arch Manning has gotten better throughout the season. I think that's the number one thing that we have to look at because, again, this is only a failed season if nothing good comes out of it going into next year. I think there's some positive things still going into next year. I think we have our tackles for next year. I'm pretty positive about that. I like Trevor Gooseby. Brandon Baker's played a lot better the last month. So we have that. Arch Manning is definitely a really good quarterback. Ryan Wingo can be a number 2 wide receiver on a national championship team. He cannot be a number 1. He can be a number 2, in my opinion. And then on the defensive side of the ball, Colin Simmons is a freak. You get him for another year. Those defensive tackles, guess what? We're not going to have to go in the portal this year, guys. Justice Terry, if you saw what he did in Georgia, when he got the opportunity, he looked pretty damn good. He should get more opportunities. Murad Watson will be back. Alex January will be back. The only guy we're losing on the interior is Cole Brevard. So we're going to have something set in stone up there. At the linebacker position, Ty Anthony Smith looks like he can be pretty damn good. Do we need a number 1 bona fide guy to fill in for Anthony Hill? Yeah. Do we need some guys in the secondary? But there's some positive things that have come from this year. Now, if we go 8-4, I'm going to change my tune just a little bit because I do think that is underachieving with the talent we have, and to lose to an Arkansas team that hasn't won a game in the SEC this year and has looked horrendous defensively. Yeah, I'm going to have a giant issue with that, and you will hear my thoughts on that after the game. But as of this moment, if we can beat Arkansas and we can beat A&M and we're 9-3, I think that's a solid stepping stone into next year, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And we'll talk about this in a little bit, but Texas does need to add some pieces in the offseason to be competitive and to get to where we think Texas should be in this market. But I think ultimately, like, you said Arch Manning is progressing. He did not have his best game on Saturday, but his wide receivers also did not help him out in the slightest bit, right? They really, this was probably one of the worst games we've seen from that wide receiver unit in a month, 6 weeks ish. Like they were just probably since Florida, they were really bad in that game. So they didn't do him a whole lot of favors. And if they have those 4 catches that were drops, we're probably looking at another 300-yard game from Arch Manning, and probably a couple of touchdowns as well, an additional touchdown as well. So like we're looking at a situation where, part of the issue is that the start of the season was so frustrating and so disappointing. How inept they looked. It's hard to shake some of that off when, frankly, they get beat by a Georgia team that Texas doesn't seem to know how to beat post Tom Herman in a weird way. Like, again, and we talked about it on Saturday. 2 of the 3 losses this year are to 2 of the 3 coaches with national championships, right? Ryan Day and Kirby Smart. 2 of the 3 active coaches with national championships Texas lost to this year. Now, that brings up another conversation about Steve Sarkisian, and is he the guy who can get you from good to great? Or really, honestly, Texas is probably on that upper tier of, like, they're probably already in great. Can you get them from great to championship level? We thought we could. Back-to-back playoff appearances feels like it, but this year and how they recover from this year into next year is really going to be the big ticket. And frankly, Texas isn't fully out of the national championship picture this year, right? They don't have a big chance to make it, but I think it's a 20-something% chance if the things fall in the right way. Texas has a shot to make it. I'm cheering for Missouri this weekend. If Missouri gets that dub, we're feeling better about Texas if Texas can win out, right? Again, it is a frustrating season, and this season could have gone better. But again, we're one game away from being where, frankly, most folks assume Texas would be at this point. If they don't have their probably worst game of the season against Florida and still have a chance to win that game, we're singing a completely different tune, I think.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And and that's the thing too, like people, I hate saying this, but it is true. Like that Florida team is a little bit different than the one now. I mean, they've been completely quick, guys. If you saw the game versus Kentucky, they didn't have their top 3 wide receivers. They didn't have their top 2 running backs. They didn't care. So that's the thing too. If Florida played out the season as a whole, I think, again, are they a good football team? No, they're probably a 6-6, 5-7 football team, and losing them is unacceptable no matter what. But 9-3 again is one of those things I kind of felt the whole time. And I even when I was pushed myself to 11-1 and I contradicted myself of saying this the year before the year, because I felt that, like, I never thought this was the year to win the national championship. I feel like that's next year. Now, if we don't get in the final 2, in my opinion, next year, if we're not in the national championship game, I'm going to consider that a failure, because you're going to have a lot of guys returning, especially offensively. And Texas has a lot of money in this new era where you can go out and just plug those holes. And that's the thing too. Like, if you want to consider this season a failure, this season, the offseason is what ruined this season, because we did not plug any holes on this team. Like, we didn't plug the running back holes. We didn't plug the interior offensive lineman holes. We didn't get another cornerback just in case one of the guys on the outside didn't develop. And we didn't do any of those things. And then we got a tight end that we thought we were getting that was going to be good in Jack Andrews, and we haven't used him properly. And when we do use him, he's not as good as we thought he has been. So that's where we lost the season, in my opinion.
I think you're completely right. And Texas did need to add, I think, those interior defensive linemen that they did. They absolutely did. So, like, it's not that they didn't spend. I think they just shorted how much spending they needed to do. Because again, watching Texas A&M have 2 guys that would probably be the number 1 wide receiver on this team be elite guys and be the propellant for that offense, that's really their calling card this year. Both of those were transfer guys, right? Watching transfer running backs put up big numbers this year, where Texas is trying to figure out what to do with the guys they have, is frustrating. There are guys both that were on Texas's roster that are putting up all conference seasons in the interior offensive line. And there are also interior offensive linemen that were transfers that are playing really well this year. So, like, this, to me, it's a failure of evaluation and of self-scouting. And I don't know if that's a pride thing. I don't know if that's a lack of self-reflection thing. I don't know what it is, but that is going to be the biggest test of Steve Sarkisian. And if he can get this team over the hump, if they go into this offseason and really successfully self-scout and really identify where the gaps are, if Kyle Flood gets out of his own way, if Steve Sarkisian gets out of his own way, if Dwayne Akina gets out of his own way and gets this team to where they need to be in those key spots, Like that is the calling card. We should know how good this team is going to be by the end of the portal window.
Yeah, and that's what's frustrating a little bit because there's been a blip here or there where I thought they didn't do a good job of evaluation. I mean, the number one case I'm always going to go back to is CJ Baxter starting over Jonathan Brooks when the whole fan base, most of us thought, why? Because I saw what Jonathan Brooks could do with my own eyes, and then we finally saw like he was the best running back in the country and he's healthy that year. And we decided, no, let's let an 18-year-old start over, which made no sense. And this year we saw that along the offensive line. It took them 8-9 weeks to get the proper 5 out there where they decided, I think these are the guys. And it took them so long. Like they tried so many different combinations. And we said, 4 or 5 weeks ago, we thought, hey, try this combination. And it's been clearly the best. Am I saying it's great? No, but it's been by far the best. Like if we have this offensive line versus Florida, I think we win that football game. It's much better than that offensive line combination. So that's my issue is there's been some evaluation or misevaluations that, give me some pause now. And I'm not just going to give him 100% certainty now when I see the roster and say, you know what, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Again, like you said, Logan Parr going to SMU and playing really good. You had Emmanuel Pregnon. He wasn't on the roster, but he was in the building on a visit. And this guy is literally going to be all Big Ten. He's having an insane year at the guard position for Oregon. And you decided, no, we don't need that guy. So that is out the window for me now. I'm going to use my eyes, what my eyes tell me to evaluate, and we'll see what happens from there. But that's, to me, the biggest issue with this team so far.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They should not have gone into the year with these deficiencies. Like it seems pretty clear that like these were deficiencies going in. You don't, not having a cornerback 2 at Texas is inexcusable. Not having a passable interior offensive line at Texas is inexcusable. Not having a running back that you could set your watch to at the University of Texas is inexcusable. With the resources they have, with the brand that they have, like all of those things are in their favor. It's just wild to me.
Yeah, I mean, another good example, Ahmad Hardy, you played him. You saw how good he was versus a really stout run defense. I think he had the most yards rushing total in that year versus us, other than maybe Dylan Gabriel. That's inexcusable to me that you didn't, hey, take a flyer, bring him in, at least talk to him what he wants. I understand if he's like, I want to be the number 1 running back. No, discussion about that. That's what I want to be. Then fine. But if he's willing to have the discussion of, I'm willing to earn my reps, and there's a certain price tag you have to meet. You're the University of Texas. Meet the price tag. Let him come in and fight for his job. And then another one, like we saw what happened versus Washington. We had 2 guys at cornerback, Ryan Watts and Terrence Brooks, that literally are safeties. Before Ryan Watts had his health issues in the NFL, he was a safety on the Pittsburgh Steelers before he had to retire. Terrence Brooks switched to when he went to Illinois and became a safety. So you had 2 guys that were natural safeties playing cornerback. And this year, no offense, Jalen Gilbo, guess what he's going to be if he decides to go in the NFL? He's going to be a safety. So you watched it again, and you didn't make sure that position was right. So again, they have not been perfect, and I'm perfectly fine with the fan base starting to question those type of decisions.
I'm with you, without a doubt.
So again, guys, let us know in the comment section, do you believe this season is failure? If so, why? If not, why not? Please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. And then let's just jump over to this, because how to get better versus elite competition. I'm going to name some stats here versus elite competition, guys. So 25 Georgia this year, 10 points. 25 Oklahoma this year, 17 points. Offensively, remember, I'm just going offensive points here. 25 Ohio State, 7 points. 24 Ohio State, 14 points. 24 Georgia, 19 points. 24 A&M, 17 points. 24 Georgia, 15 points. Some other stats, 0-7 versus Kirby Smart, Kalen DeBoer, and Ryan Day. 0-7. Worst yards per carry game. This is going to be a lot of Georgia in here. 25 Georgia, 1.4 yards per carry. 22 TCU, a team that made the national championship game, 1.3 yards per carry. 1.1 yards per carry versus 24 Georgia, both times. So those are the 4 worst outings under Steve Sarkisian as a running team. Texas has it. Listen, they're in the top 98% of college football, but there's that 1 to 2% that are better than them. That's just the case, guys. That's what the data and facts say in every asset. If you want to go points per game, yards per game, rush yards versus elite competition, it does not match up. Like I said, I'll keep saying this stat. In Steve Sarkisian's tenure in yards per game, points per game, rush yards per attempt, total rush yards, yards per attempt passing, total yards passing, third down conversion percentage, fourth down conversion percentage, all those type of stats, we've been in the top 10 twice in 5 years under Steve Sarkisian. We do not get it done versus elite competition, guys. And that's something that has to change. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later or in this segment, how to change that or how we think we can change that. Jared, I'll let you go on this first. Do you think it can be changed under Steve Sarkisian? And if so, how?
Do I think it can be changed under Steve Sarkisian? Yes, I think. I think the one big thing for it's toughness both mentally and physically. Right, there's a lack of mental toughness with some of these players. That goes back to these mental errors that we see that seem to really fault Texas. Again, think of the opening drive against Georgia. Right, things are clicking, things are humming. You have a false start, you have a drop on third down. Everything stalls, right? Like that's emblematic of what happens in these types of big games. Texas seems like the moment is too big for them. Mississippi State, same deal. A lot of unforced errors against Mississippi State, a lot of unforced errors against Kentucky. And those aren't elite competition, but it's emblematic of what happens, right? It is a mental and physical toughness thing, right? Texas has been held under 100 yards rushing 8 times over the last 2 seasons. 3 of those are against Georgia. It's nuts to think about that, right? Like Texas is not, I think, physically on the level they need to be to compete with a team like Georgia, to compete with that. Like they're just getting beat. They're not. And again, the other part of it is Texas, I think mentally, and Steve Sarkisian even mentally, like Texas was rushing for 4 yards a carry, 5 yards a carry, and they had 3 rushing attempts in the second half. Part of that was because Georgia spent like 12 minutes on the field of the second half. So like there's that. But you've got to part of that is the head coach overthinking things and getting into his own head and really not going with what's working in a lot of ways. And so ultimately, like it is a mental toughness thing. It's a physical toughness thing. Texas's third down issues, Texas's red zone issues. That is a potent combination of a lack of physical toughness, just getting beat at the point of attack, and not saying that I'm going to beat you at the point of attack. And those things go hand in hand, right? The best players I've ever seen, both in person and, that I've covered, are the players that are like, I don't care who you are lining up across from me. I'm going to whip your tail up one side and down the other. I'm going to whip you up and down both sides of the field. And that mental toughness leads into their ability to be physically superior and physically tough. Again, I've talked about, like, I had classes with guys that were on the national championship team. And in the media moments, they would say, yeah, we treat every opponent with respect and we treat every opponent, with dignity and blah, blah, blah. And then you talk to them on a Monday and we're like, we were taking bets on who's going to get out of the game first, on how much garbage time we're going to have in this game. We knew we were going to run these guys off the field. But like those types of things are the types of things that you need. This team doesn't seem to have that killer instinct. It doesn't seem to have that, like, I'm going to whip your ass. That I'm the biggest, baddest, biggest swinging thing on this field, and I'm going to beat you man to man. That's the thing that I think this team is missing.
Well, the thing is, the physicality thing, I do think that's a little bit like the actual physicality, not the mental side of it all, because I 100% agree with the mental side of it all. But the other, at the actual physicality on the field, I think the offensive line might lack that, but the defensive line, I think, does a really good job in these big games. Like the defensive side of the ball, I think we have the physicality. You want to question the offensive line in these games? Yeah, that's perfectly fine with me. And the running backs that way as well. Like our running backs don't bring a lot of thunder there as well. Like the only one, Trey Wisner in that OU game this year, that was really it. I mean, even for A&M last year, that wasn't really physicality. He just ran away from people. A&M's run defense wasn't that good last year. So, I mean, it's the lapses of certain things, especially by the offense. And that's the thing. Why I don't know if it's fixable if Steve Sarkisian is going to keep calling plays. I really don't. Because we've seen 5 years worth of data. If he keeps calling plays, I don't see how it changes because I don't think he's willing to adjust on his philosophy. If that was the case, we would have seen it this year because this is the year they've struggled the most, and he really hasn't adjusted that much. Like we've been begging for 11 and 10 personnel. We've been begging for up-tempo. I will say he's given us a little bit more up-tempo, but he's still stuck to 12 personnel, and that's the funny thing. If you know you're getting out physical by Georgia's defensive line, why in the hell would you run 12 personnel and try to run it at them and physically try to beat them up? If you know you can't do it, just go 11 personnel, spread them out, and play with them. I think, that's something I don't know that can be fixed unless he's willing to give up the play calling duties because I don't know. Again, like, is he going to die on a sword? That's what I'm worried about, guys. Like, I truly am worried that he's just going to say, if I'm going to call plays until I'm either fired or going to quit. And we saw Desmond Howard today saying he talks about maybe a mutually parting of ways. I mean, if maybe he knows something we don't, that could be a real thing too. Maybe Sark is truly that pissed off about this whole conversation. He's like, fine, if you don't want me to call plays, I might as well just mutually part ways here, go call plays in the NFL. I mean, that's definitely a possibility. And listen, that's a coin flip for us, guys. We could get better. We could get better, but we could also get worse. We could hire someone and this thing could go right back to the Tom Herman, Charlie Strong era. And I don't really want to be there either, but I also would want to win a national championship. I don't want to be stuck on this purgatory of 9-3, 10-2, 11-1, never winning anything that really matters either. So I think there are some fixes, but again, egos are going to have to be put aside this offseason. I think this is going to be the teetering point of the Steve Sarkisian era. I truly believe that. Either we are going to see these offseason changes made this offseason, or it will not happen. And this is the last 2 seasons were the high point. That was the high point, and it's going to go downhill from there. I don't know what's going to happen personally.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And you've heard me say it, like, this all rises and falls on leadership. That is like 100%. And that's the head coach, right? And I was texting some buddies today about, like, they're asking about the Desmond Howard video about, is it going to be a mutual parting of ways? And, like, again, I think Steve Sarkisian has the ability to do this, like the mental ability to do it, but will he want to do it? Does he want to do the things? Does that align with what he wants to do? It is 100%. It is all ego. It is all, and part of what makes successful coaches successful is the same thing that makes them bad, right? Like the same thing that made Jimbo Fisher successful at Florida State made him terrible at Texas A&M, right? His ego, his belief that he knows what the way to get it done, right? The same thing that makes these guys successful is the same thing that makes them beat their head against the wall, right? And it's why I respect guys like Nick Saban that know that they're not going to be able to change, is that I'm done, right? That's really why Nick Saban retired, because he didn't want to go through the work at 70 years old to change the entire way that he does it. He was like, this is not what I want to do. I'm out, right? And that is a level of self-awareness that most people don't have. Like, I'm not going to change. It just doesn't work for me. So like that, to me, like Steve Sarkisian and his staff have to start with the person in the mirror. They have to say, what is in me, right? This is like good leaders. If you don't know, my day job is actually leadership development and leadership coaching, right? Like any good leader looks at themselves in the mirror first and says, what is it about me that's costing my team? What is it about what I'm doing that's costing my team, right? It is me first. What am I doing wrong? Any leader worth their salt is not ever going to be the one to say, I have all the answers. I am the smartest person in the room. That is bad. That is a sign of decline. And that, to me, is the biggest thing we need to see in this offseason. Is Steve Sarkisian going to be able to say, like, hey, what is it within me? What is it within the staff that's costing? Because Texas has a lot of talent, right? There are some big talent deficiencies, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. But like those talent deficiencies are a blind spot for the coaching staff, right? That was the coaching staff buying their own brand. I don't know if they can do it. It is fixable, but I don't know if they will.
Well, that's the thing. When, again, also as a leader, you're supposed to know your strengths and weaknesses and supplement that with other people that can help you fill those gaps. And I don't know. See, that's the thing. Sark says these things, but I don't see it in his actions this year, guys. Again, I'm willing to say he just is willing to die with it in the season and then the offseason where you'll see the major changes. But if we come out again and we run his style of offense and, we miss on a couple of those portal evaluations, we're back to this where you may have to run a certain scheme you don't want to and he doesn't do it. Then we know, guys. Then we will know he's just unwilling to adapt. And that means in this portal cycle, if you truly want to run 12 personnel, dude, go to freaking North Dakota State and just get 2 molars at the tight end and say, there you go. We're running 12 personnel. These are 2 tight ends. We're going to mull people up front. If that's what you want, it's going to be unlikely you're going to find a perfect blend of a guy that can do it all. That's going to be, if you want that, you're going to have to pay a lot of money to go find those guys. Those guys cost a lot of money and they're first and second round picks in the NFL. And you tried to do that with the Jack Hendrys and you saw where it got you. It fell flat in the face. If you really want to run 12 personnel and be guaranteed to run it, just go get 2 farm boys that are 6'4", 6'5", that are 270 and will block people. That's what he should do. I don't know if he's going to do that because like he feels like that's beneath him. He feels like North Dakota State, Montana State, those type of schools where you can get those guys. And we're Texas. We don't want that. We want the all-around guy. And we saw that worked in the portal. You can either hit on that guy or you can get, no offense to Jack Andrews, that really hasn't played up to the standard as the last two tight ends. Also on the Nick Saban thing, we saw him adapt. Like he said in the mid-early 2010s, hey, it's up tempo. I hate this shit. He literally said, I don't like this, but you're doing it? Okay, watch this. I hire Lane Kiffin, and guess what I do? I'm going to win 3 national championships and make you guys look stupid. So he was willing to say, I don't like this brand of football, but I love winning more. So I'm going to shove my shit aside and I'm going to win football games. And guess what? No one remembers that. No one remembers, oh, Nick Saban's old stuff didn't work in this modern era and he had to ban it and go. No, they know he won all these national championships and that's all they care about. So at some point, you got to realize that as well.
Yeah, winning covers all of your sins, right? And again, the other side, like the other part of, like I got to talk out of both sides of my mouth for a second because, like, we also have to remember that, like, this was despite what we convinced ourselves of preseason and the collective like hallucination we all had about this Texas team and kind of ignoring what was on paper. Like, this is what college football has been for a very long time, where a team is good for a couple of years, they lose a bunch of older players and they step back. Right. And so like I said this in an article, I said this to some friends, like I was at the Colt McCoy game, right? Like we don't remember how bad Colt McCoy was those first couple of years because of how his career ended. And so like part of me is like, is this just a symptom of the year? But even last year when Texas had those players, Kirby Smart whipped his tail. Ryan Day whipped his tail, right? And I can't say Ryan Day whipped his tail. That was a little bit of a closer game, but he got out coached for sure in multiple key spots. So like, is Steve Sarkisian the barrier from Texas going to great to elite in the next level? That's the question we're going to have to see the answer through this offseason.
I think another thing, I might do some research on this. You know, we had the most draft picks from the last 2 years in the NFL. How many teams have not made a national championship appearance in those 2-year windows? Like that, guys, I'm going to say this right now. If I go and do the research, I have a feeling it's going to be every one of them, if they led into a 2-year window, probably made at least one national championship game. And we didn't do that. And that's a big, big deal to me. And it's looking bigger by the day.
Yeah. I mean, the last ones I can think of are Ohio State from the last couple of years and Georgia from a couple of years prior to that. Like,
Michigan broke the record and they were in the national championship game.
Yeah.
So I don't really like that trend.
That's a nice way of saying
it. Yeah. And last thing before we end on this topic, and that's the thing too, like it's again, not what the record says. It really isn't. It's more of the results I'm saying of, I think we have the talent to run a certain type of scheme, but we just refuse to run that certain type of scheme. I really, really believe if we just went 10 or 11 personnel, this could be a pretty good football team. Because again, this is also crazy. We apparently have told Emmett Mosley he's the 4th wide receiver, which to me, he's the most complete wide receiver we have on the team. And every time we put in an Andrews or a Washington or both in at the same time, he's the one that hits the bench. So I'm just baffled by that decision. But yeah, I don't understand that at all.
Yeah, that's Mosley has been the one. I think every time I watch him, I'm like, why isn't this guy playing more? Like every time he gets a catch, I'm like, why isn't this guy on the field more? And I understand that like they have to keep, Wingo and Moore happy, so they don't dip. But like, it's a team sport at some point. Like, and I understand. Like, I'm not naive enough to say that like that's not part of the game. But ultimately, like, the thing I always want to like talk about when I talk about guys getting NIL money is like guys on national championship teams make more money than guys on 8 and 4 teams, regardless of your position, right? Like if you're worried about your checks, like win some games and folks are going to want to have you on their ads regardless of the other stuff.
Well, go look at professional sports. When the team wins the Super Bowl, the NBA championship, the World Series, you see these guys get overpaid because they were on a championship team. So teams just want to get them away from that team, number one. And they feel like they have this magic sauce in each and every one of them that can help them win a championship.
I was in Buffalo for work a couple of weeks ago, and I saw Josh Allen and a bunch of guys I couldn't recognize on a bunch of billboards. I'm like, I know that's Josh Allen. Who are those other 3 dudes, right? Like when you're on a good team, people are going to want your services regardless of whether or not you're Josh Allen or the other random guys that I still don't know who they are.
100%. So I think overall, get better, more physical along the offensive line, more physical at the running back position. And then just number one for me is just we got to stop this penalty stuff. Like, you don't see great football teams that win national championship just committing all these penalties over and over week after week. It does not happen. So that's got to be done with.
It's all between the ears for me. It is mental mistakes. It is, drops are a mental mistake. Penalties are a mental mistake. Again, and it's mentality on third and mediums, mentality on goal line. Like, all of that is mental stuff. And some of that comes down to the head coach. Some of that comes to what they're doing in the strength and conditioning program. Like, it's all mental reps at this point.
So again, guys, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. And let's jump over to this. So the top 5 portal needs Texas needs going into next season. I have my 5 written down. We're going to start at number 5. Gerald, I'll let you hit. What is your number 5 portal need for Texas heading into next season?
It's going to be a short segment. All 5 of mine are quarterback. No, I'm just joking. I think my number 5 in this one is probably a running back. And I feel like it's going to be higher on your list, but ultimately, like, we've seen what Quintravian Wisner can do behind a decent offensive line, right? Like, if Texas has to prioritize the other spots that I'm going to talk about here in just a minute, like, I'm fine with them deprioritizing running back, because behind an offensive line that had multiple solid NFL caliber guys, Trey Wisner went for 1,000 yards. Is that the running back you want to have on a national championship level team? No. But can you be competitive for a conference championship and a national championship with him? Absolutely. So do I think Texas should go out and grab a running back if they've got it? Absolutely. There's a kid in Florida, Jaden Ball, I'd love to have in Austin next year. But ultimately, like, of the 5 spots that we're going to talk about, that's probably the one that I have lowest on my list.
Number 5 for me is safety. I have this one a little bit lower because I still believe in Derek Williams, and I think he's still kind of getting right from his ACL injury. So I'm waiting on that one. I think he can still produce next year. I also believe in Jonah Williams a lot. I think he's one of the most highly touted guys and most ready guys heading into next year. I'm pretty confident he'll produce. The issue is, I think they're going to go with Derek Williams and Xavier Filsaime, and I have not liked what I've seen from Xavier Filsaime at all this year. He's been a severe disappointment to me. I think he's a really good athlete. I don't think he's a very good safety at this point. So I do think you should go and you don't have to get, a Thieneman that went to Oregon, all Big Ten type of guy, but can you go get, a third team, ACC type safety from somewhere? I think that'd be fine just to get in the rotation if you absolutely need someone to play next year. So that's my number 5 position.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And actually, safety is also on my list as well, but we'll get your number 4 and then I'll jump in.
Yeah, number 4 for me is wide receiver. So this is kind of where I think 1 through 4 for me, you can just throw it in a bag and just take one out. I think if someone wanted to make this the number 1, I'd be fine with it. I think Ryan Wingo can be a number 2 on a national championship team. I really believe that. I've seen some people saying he can't even be a number 3. I think that's absolutely crazy. I've seen worse number 3s. I mean, even like on that LSU 2019 team, guys, like you had Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, then you had Terrence Marshall. I think Ryan Wingo is better than Terrence Marshall Jr. I think he'll get drafted higher than Terrence Marshall Jr. I think he'll have a more successful NFL career than Terrence Marshall Jr. because I'm pretty sure that guy's not even in the league anymore. So I think he can be a number 2 on a national championship team. But you're going to have to go out and get a legitimate number 1. A couple years ago, we had 2 number 1s. Like Xavier Worthy and A.D. Mitchell were 2 number 1s. I would take either one of those guys as a number 1 on this team. I would take Matthew Golden as a number 1 on this team. I would take Isaiah Bond, if he was healthy, as a number 1 on this team. Go out and get someone big. If Cam Coleman is available, guys, I don't care how much he costs. Go get him. That dude is a game changer. Like in that game versus Georgia, if he had 1-on-1, you could have just thrown in the ball and it's a 70-30 ball every time with him. That's how freaking good that guy is. So go and get a bona fide number 1 wide receiver. And don't tell me they're on the bench, because if they were on the bench, they should have been playing this year. And again, if that's the case, then my God, we have an issue if Khalil Lockett was truly that good or Jamie French was truly that good and he was on the bench this year. So I have number 4 as my wide receiver.
I actually also have number 4 as wide receiver. So you and I are thinking in agreement there. And I think, to me, it is like you find a 1-year rental from a school like Auburn. You find a 1-year rental from a school like Florida, where you've got a guy who is 1 year away from being the next guy in the NFL, right? From being a first or second round draft pick. Like, hey, your coach is gone. You don't know what this next year is going to be. Let me plug you into this offense. You saw what we did with Xavier Worthy. You saw what we did with a guy like A.D. Mitchell, who played in Austin for 1 year and now is again, his NFL career, he's got bounced around a little bit, but he was drafted early. He was drafted early. Folks wanted to have him, right? Isaiah Bond, notwithstanding, right, his injury and the legal stuff, but like Texas has had a good track record bringing in some of these guys and getting them a 1-year stint. Where it's the weird part about the NIL portal era is like you have to get comfortable with having a couple of mercenaries on your roster, because just because they're only going to be here for 1 year and one of their chief motivations is getting a check, like I talked about when we're talking about getting to the elite status, those kind of guys know that you're only as good as your tape. And so they're going to go out and they're going to play their tail off, and they're going to make $1 million in that year. And both of those things are fine, right? So go out and get a guy who's a 1-year rental. Cam Coleman is the kind of guy, or I'm thinking of what's the guy? I can blanking on the kid from Florida, but like those kind of guys where they've got
Dallas Wilson.
Dallas Wilson, right? 1 or 2 years left. Like get him on campus, say, hey, we're gonna get you into the league. You're gonna have an opportunity. You don't know what this new coach is gonna do. So come here. You know what our offense is. You know what we can do with wide receivers. Look at Devonta Smith, look at AD Mitchell, look at Xavier Worthy. Come be that guy at Texas for a year and then go get paid in the league. Like it is such a good selling point for what Texas can do for those guys.
I have another one that no one's being talked, that he isn't really being talked about, but he's just as good as, in my opinion, or pretty damn close to Cam Coleman. Nick Marsh at Michigan State. Like Michigan State sucks, guys, and he's a very good wide receiver. So I think there's a chance he jumps in the portal, and he's not going to be as much as Cam Coleman. He'll probably be 70% of the price, but 90% of the talent. Like he's a very good wide receiver, and I'd be complete. He actually kind of reminds me of AD Mitchell, so I'd be completely fine if that's the route you went to. And I'm sure if I dug deep enough, there'd be about 10 to 12 guys I'd be completely fine with Texas getting in the portal at the wide receiver position.
And for the guys that are on campus already, that makes you better. That gives you more opportunity. Like if there's a guy like AD Mitchell that requires an extra defensive back to cover him, that makes it better for you, Ryan Mingo. That makes it better for you, DeAndre Moore. Like that to me, again, it is a must-have in this offseason.
Who's your number 3?
So my number 3 actually is a safety. So I have safety a little bit of higher priority, specifically because we saw how bad it could be if Texas can't communicate on that back end. And we spent a lot of years with Texas playing really bad safeties, and I cannot go back to that. And again,
Jaron
think of a guy, right? Like I think of a guy like Andrew Makuba, right? Who comes in, again, it's a 1-year rental because like you said, Texas does have a ton of young talent back there. They've got guys that have been 1-year players, 2-year players. And frankly, we haven't seen them be those kinds of vocal leaders back there like Taft can be pre-injury, like Andrew Makuba was when he came in from Clemson, right? Get a guy who's going to be an elder statesman back there, who's going to take some of these younger guys under their wing and also can be your field marshal in the back of this defense. Communication was absolute butt cheeks against Georgia. It was awful. And Texas has one of those senior guys back there. They have Michael Taft, who probably was a little rusty, a little off his game because he missed a couple of weeks. But when push comes to shove, like you need to have a guy back there that can run traffic and be your traffic cop. So that to me, like go out, get a 1-year guy who can be that as Jonah Williams gets a little bit more experience, as Derek Williams get a little bit more experience. So I like you have safety, but it's higher on my list.
No, I think that's completely fair. I'm going to go cornerback for my number 3. A little bit different, but same. I mean, guys, we would be so bad without Malik Muhammad. Imagine if we didn't have Malik Muhammad this year, and I think we'd probably be worse than 2023.
Go watch the Florida game.
Yeah, I think Ryan Watts actually had some skills that are better than some of the guys on the team right now. He could actually jam people at the line of scrimmage and get physical. I don't really see anyone right now that can do that. I do think Cade Phillips has potential, but again, guys, you cannot go into next season and be like, you know what? I think he has potential. Let's throw him out there. No, actually, this is the time to do that. These next 2 games, if I see anyone out there other than Cade Phillips, if I see Warren Roberson or Jalen Gilbo at the other cornerback position, I'm going to have a giant problem because Cade Phillips is a 5-star. He's got talent. Even on that rep where it was a touchdown, he at least was close. He's got his arm there. If that's a slightly behind thrown ball, it's incomplete. It was a good throw. He did get beat. He has to realize, too, the safety's playing with inside leverage. He should have been outside. But again, overall, he was in position for the most part, other than a perfectly thrown football from Gunnar Stockton, who was really good in that football game. We need someone desperately just to come in and be shut down, locked down, number 1 corner because we're losing that guy. I don't think Malik Muhammad's coming back. He's ranked as a top 5 cornerback in this upcoming draft. So unless you're willing to break the bank for a guy, no offense, it seemed like he was going to transfer from Texas at the end of last year. I really think he's off to the NFL. So you have to go get a cornerback because, again, you cannot be running Cade Phillips, Kobe Black, and whoever else out there next year at cornerback, again, with especially probably a little bit weaker or about the same type of safety play. Unless you're getting elite safeties, you can't go out there with bad cornerback play.
Yeah, no, I've actually got, cornerback's my number one. Like, cornerback is my number one spot on this list. So we'll just jump in. My number two is interior offensive lineman. I need guards. And I have this not at number one because if Texas goes back out there with the unit that they ran over the last 2 games, it's not terrible. It's not terrible. It is what it is, right?
No.
Like, it can be better. It can be a lot better, and adding a couple of interior offensive line. But I looked at how bad the offensive line was versus how bad the secondary was without Manny Muhammad against Florida, and that's how I picked 1 and 2, right? Because the difference in that Florida game was Manny Muhammad not being there, right? And the offensive line was also trash, but there were some injuries, right? So, like, ultimately for me, like, these are interchangeable. You could put either one at number one, whether it's interior offensive lineman, whether it's corner. If Texas doesn't go out and grab multiple at both of these positions this offseason, I'll be mad. Straight up mad. Like, you need multiple interior offensive linemen. You need multiple corners. You cannot go into next season with this group. Like, will it be okay on the offensive line? Probably, but it won't solve many of your offensive problems, right? You'll still be unable to run the ball. So you're going to go and get beat by somebody like you did on Saturday. So, like, Texas needs it. And there are guys that'll probably be available. Again, there are some guys playing for LSU that don't have a head coach right now. There's some guys playing for Florida that don't have a head coach right now that I would love. They're also from the state of Texas, so you can get them to come home a little bit, right? That, to me, interior offensive lineman, I got it 2. Cornerbacks, I got it 1.
Number 2 for me is running back. You were right. I had this higher. And the reason why is if you look at the best red zone offenses we've had under Steve Sarkisian, it went with a great running game. When we had Bijan Robinson, Roschon Johnson, it was the best red zone offense we had. And we're terrible in the red zone. Ever since then, it's been downhill completely. And that's because the running backs have not been as good. Jonathan Brooks, it was okay, but it still wasn't as good as when you had Bijan and Roschon. So you have to go and get that elite running back. We don't have the guy. Quentin Jammer said this on Twitter. He was literally saying, Georgia has these guys in the backfield and they're explosive. Our guys look like they're slow as hell back there. And they are. Like, Trey Wisner looks like he's stuck in neutral sometimes. And CJ Baxter is clearly not back from injury. I mean, that's been clear the whole year. And I told people that, like, I never understood why people had us in the top 5 running back room discussion, because CJ Baxter is not going to be the guy you thought or you had early on. He's just not. That's a major reconstructive surgery, and he may never be the same. That's the honest truth of it. He may never be the same at Texas. He may have to transfer because he's not the quality that we really want on the roster anymore. So you have to go out and get an elite running back. I think we'll solve a lot of issues. And when we go up to my number 1 spot, which I'll give you a hint, it's the guard position, and I'll just hit on that as well. They're married to each other because I believe to unlock what Steve Sarkisian truly wants to do, if you're going to be married to the scheme, guess what you got to do in this scheme? You got to run the football, and you got to have play action to hit the ball deep. So you need a good running back and you need a good guard to hit the type of inside and outside zones he wants. And we saw what our guards did versus Georgia. Those guys were so damn slow. They could not pull versus Georgia. When they pulled versus Georgia, it was either Georgia running right behind them and making the play, or it was hey, I'm reaching back, I'm holding them, and you saw the penalty. So guard and running back are 1 or 2 for me. That running game has to get going. We just talked about versus elite competition, the yards per carry average. Georgia's holding you under 1.5 yards per carry all 3 meetings. That changes every one of those football games. If you can run for 3 yards per carry in those games, I think we win the SEC championship game. And I think we're probably in that game we just played and in the first game a lot better as well. So you have to get a little bit more physical along the offensive line, especially the guards. And then you have to get a physical specimen at the running back position. I like Derek Cooper, and I think he will be that, but you cannot make him that his freshman year. So go out and get another running back.
I think it's fair. And again, you and I, the running back is the big difference on our board. Because again, these are all like, I want Texas to go for all of these. Like, Texas should go for 1 at all of these positions that we mentioned. But I think running back, it's hard to find a Bijan Robinson in the portal.
Oh,
it's hard to find a Roschon Johnson in the portal. So, like, can Texas get better there? Absolutely. But of the spots that I think are going to have, like, I don't want Texas to go out there with 2 tackling dummies at running back like they have these last couple of games. Like, it's inexcusable. As University of Texas, it is inexcusable to be in that situation.
Hey, Michigan State got Kenneth Walker one year, and we saw what that did for that team and that garbage ass coaching staff. Can you go find me one of those? So get me someone like Kenneth Walker. They do exist. You're going to see about 2 to 3 per portal cycle that are just complete game changers, and that's the guys I want Texas to go for. They're going to be there. Are you willing to spend the money? I don't know. That's going to be the question. Did you say your number one yet?
I did. My number one was corners.
Okay.
Yeah. Because we saw how bad Texas was against Florida in the secondary. That was just, it looked like my 8-year-old flag football team out there playing secondary. Like I would trust some of those kids more than I trusted some of those corners that showed up against Florida. Like that was just inexcusable. That was just, there's no reason that Texas should put that level of incompetence on the field in the secondary, period. There's no way. So like Texas needs to add, I think probably 2 guys at corner. I don't trust Cade Phillips probably is the only guy that I would even feel okay with being in the two deep next year at corner. I hate everything else that's going on in that room.
No, I completely agree. He's the only one I'm like, you know what? Let's let it ride there and see what happens. But I've seen enough of Kobe Black. I thought he was going to be good. I don't think he's very good. Warren Roberson is just, I don't even know why he plays any position at this point, why he's on special teams. He's cost us dearly. So yeah, he should just not play for the University of Texas. And guess what? I don't feel bad about saying that anymore because he's probably getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to commit a lot of these penalties for Texas. So I don't feel bad about that. And I also wanted to say this because there's a couple people on Twitter that were mean to Terry Joseph and Blake Gideon. Boy, I bet you miss them now because those guys have done a pretty good job. Look at Blake Gideon's doing at Ole Miss. I think he's doing a pretty damn solid job over there. So I wish we had them back.
Yeah, it would. I'm curious to see what it will. I would love to see what it will look like with those guys because it was definitely better last year.
Yeah, much better. And that's the thing. The front seven has been really good. Like the front seven still, I think, a top 5 front seven in the country. The back end is just fell completely off the cliff. And I didn't expect that. I thought it would definitely take a step back because you're losing Jahdae Barron and Andrew Bakuba, 2 special high-level intellectuals on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
So I expected that, but I didn't expect it to go back to literally 2023, basically is what it did. We're just have Ryan Watson, Terrence Brooks running out there again. So I think that's inexcusable.
I'm with you.
Again, guys, please hit that like button. Please subscribe. Let us know who you think your top 5 portal needs are. Give us specific players as well. I'm very curious about that. We gave you some specific names. We might do that actually in a couple weeks, maybe after the season. Hopefully, we do make the playoffs. If we don't, in between our whatever bowl game it is, we'll talk about specific players Texas could target. But let's jump over to this Arkansas preview. Obviously, Arkansas, a 2-8 football team, 0-6 in the SEC. We do not want to be their first win, guys. They have played pretty competitive football, though. Close game with A&M, close game versus Tennessee. I think they almost beat Mississippi State. They probably, LSU, they should have beat Mississippi State as well. This isn't a terrible football team, especially offensively. This is a very good football team, and we'll talk about that. 34.1 points per game, top 25 in the country offensively, but they give up 32.3 points a game. So Texas better be able to put up 35 plus in this game. If they can't, boy, oh boy, we're going to have some issues in the post game if they're not able to do that versus this wretched defense. I think it's the worst defense we played all year. I think it's even worse than Kentucky's defense. But Taylor Green is a special football player. He's one of those guys that, can make you pull your hair out, but then also make you jump off your couch and be like, hell yeah, that was a great play because 19 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, but then on the ground, 717 yards rushing and 7 touchdowns. But again, that 10 interception number is the key. They have some really good wide receivers as well with Raylan Sharp and Omega Blake, especially some speedy guys that can definitely hit you deep. Gerald, what do you think about this Arkansas team?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. They might be one of the all-time half teams in college football history. Like this is a really an offense that could do some really incredible things paired with a defense that I don't think could stop a sneeze at all. Like they're just not the defense. They're terrible. And I don't know what it is about their defense. It's like they give up a ton on the ground. They give up a ton through the air. Like they don't really do anything good defensively, but they're going to score some points. I mean, they've been in a lot of these games. I mean, it was a 3-point game against Tennessee, 3-point game against A&M. It was 9 points against Auburn, Mississippi State, 1-point game against LSU, right? Like they are a team that's going to put up some points and make you have to work for it. It very much feels to me like the Mississippi State game where Texas probably should win this comfortably, but there's going to be something Texas has just not had that killer instinct this year, and especially because the teams that really do well against this this Arkansas defense run the ball really well. I mean, they gave up 290 yards against Memphis, 210 against Notre Dame, 264 Tennessee, 217 A&M, 230 Auburn. Like that is a bunch of yards on the ground, and Texas can't run the ball. So like that to me is the thing that really has my radar up for this one being a little bit of a weirder game than it probably should be.
I mean, Vegas kind of sees it that way as well because we're only 10-point favorites. That's not very many points versus a 2-8 football team. So Vegas thinks this is going to be a pretty close game. And then Sark did talk about they do have a pretty good pass rush with Quincy Rhodes Jr. and Phillip Lee. Yeah. I mean, those guys combined have 11.5 sacks and 21 tackles for loss. So those are two solid football players. So you don't want to get in third and long situations, which we've been in all year, especially with our offensive line versus those two guys. If we can stay out of that, I think we can put up honestly our highest total points wise of the season. I think we can put up plus more than Vanderbilt. I think we would have put up more than Vanderbilt if they just called a pass interference in the end zone. So I think we could see 40 points in this game. But the problem is we saw what Georgia did, guys. It was motion in the backfield to confuse the secondary, cause miscommunication, and then run seam routes on cover 3. And you're going to see that versus Arkansas. If you don't think Bobby Petrino is a good play caller, well, you're wrong because he's a very good play caller. That's one thing I know about him. He's always going to have a really good offense, and they're going to try to exploit what they saw versus Vandy, what they saw versus Georgia, which is anytime there was a switch release, our guys were just confused as hell apparently and just decided, hey, two of us are going to cover one guy, and one guy was wide open. You're going to get a heavy dose of that, and you're going to have a lot of speed to tackle on the outside, which we've struggled with somewhat some of the time as well. So it's going to be very interesting. I don't really know what the game plan is going to be. I don't know if they're going to simplify it versus this Arkansas team. I don't know if they're going to get up in the pace of these wide receivers, which we don't really do for whatever reason. We play 7 to 10 yards off, especially on 3rd and 10s, 3rd and 7s, 3rd and 8s. We give them the free first down and then tackle after, which makes no sense to me. I don't know what the game plan is going to be here, Gerald. How do you think it's going to be adjusted at all, or do you think we're just going to go the normal zone defense, play off the wide receivers here?
I mean, I think we saw the difference for Texas in the Georgia game, where once they stopped playing that soft zone and started getting up a little bit closer to the line and pressing, and kind of speeding up the quarterback a bit. Taylor Green is scary to do that to, at least, a lot of blitzes, because he's going to make a guy miss and he's off to the races. Like, he is a dual threat in every sense of the word. He can pass the ball, but he's also a heck of an athlete. He's, I think, rushed for 700 yards this year, I think is the number. Yeah. So like he's a guy that you have to like when you speed him up, you have to get him on the ground. Like, you cannot, like, a missed tackle against him is 6 points. So like, I'm worried that Texas is going to play it more timid like they did early in the Georgia game, because, part of Gunnar Stockton's game is his legs, right? We saw that against Texas. So like, I'm worried that Texas is going to do that, because if you do that against Taylor Green and against these wide receivers that that Arkansas has, they're going to 6 yard, 7 yard you to death. Like, it's not going to work out well for you.
100%. And you got to stay ahead of the sticks in this game, and you're going to have to score. Like, just honestly, if we play the Vanderbilt half, we'll win the football game. If we don't, and this game's close going to the fourth quarter, I do not like that, because again, this Texas team has not put together 60 minutes. They haven't. They put together the best game was Vanderbilt. They put together 52, 53 minutes of really solid football, and I think that would be enough to beat Arkansas, but they don't play 60 minutes, and honestly, they barely play about 40 minutes in most of these games. In the Georgia game, it was like 35 minutes of good football, and then the rest was bad. And Arkansas is good enough offensively. If they put up 35 points, can Texas put up 36 points? I think they can, but I don't know that. I don't want to take that chance. And here's this question, Gerald. So if I guess I'll pose it to you like this. If I put the contract in front of you right now, Texas scores 35 points, would you sign up for that in this game?
No.
Oh, okay. So you think we need more than 35 points?
I don't feel confident in the offense's ability to do it consistently, right? If you had said 30, I'd probably feel good about it, but 30, like, I don't know why that 35 number terrifies me. I don't have faith in them. Like, based on what we saw against Georgia, based on how they petered out against Vanderbilt, based on how slow the start was in the previous 2 games, like, it's just this offense does not have the killer instinct yet.
I think that's fair. I'm going to get your prediction. So what is your prediction for this football game?
Yeah, I think I've got Texas. I've got Texas probably 30-24, I think is what I've got for Texas in this game. Like, I think Arkansas is going to score because Arkansas scores the football. That's what they do. They're a very talented offense. But I think Texas will be able to do enough to get it done.
We're pretty close. I have 33-24. So I just have the field goal there. Like you said, Arkansas is going to score. They're a really good offense football team. I mean, they're a better offense than us. I would trade for their offense in a heartbeat right now. They've just been more explosive, made more plays, got more yards. And they have done that versus pretty good competition. Even versus Notre Dame, they put up, 17 points versus Notre Dame or something like that. I don't know if we could score 17 points on Notre Dame. Our offense doesn't really scale well versus great competition. So I do think we win this football game, but I think Arkansas is going to cover.
I'm with you there.
Again, guys, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. That does it for the Arkansas preview. Let us know your prediction for the Arkansas game below. This is Texas Live number 78, and we're back to our picks, Gerald. Gerald, you have closed round here. You are 12-12. We are both 16-14. We're 16-14. We are tied on the year now.
Yeah, baby.
So these next three games, we'll see what happens. Pitt versus Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is -3 here. Who are you going to take in this football game?
I think I've got to ride Georgia Tech on this one. Georgia Tech likes to play 3-point games. They really like to play close games based on what they do. But ultimately, I'm maybe it's just my anti-Pat Narduzzi bias, but I just don't think that they're going to be able to really shut down what Georgia Tech wants to do offensively. I think Georgia Tech has a lot of tools and a lot of weapons in that offense outside of its quarterback, outside of the Cuban cannon. But ultimately, like I don't buy Narduzzi in these big spots.
The way he talked about the Notre Dame game, the way the ACC is this year, which is just a weird conference where Clemson goes and beats Louisville, Miami loses to Louisville, Virginia almost loses to North Carolina, Virginia beats Duke. Like, I'm going to take Pitt +3 here. I think this is just a conference of chaos. I don't think there's really any great football teams.
Okay.
I think Georgia Tech also could be looking forward in a couple weeks to Georgia because I don't think they really have anyone after this game. I think it's Pitt and then a crappy team and then Georgia. So I'm going to take Pitt +3 here.
Okay.
Next, hey, we're on separate sides, so someone's going to take the lead with this one. BYU versus Cincy. BYU -2.5. Cincy is getting 2.5 points at home. Who are you going to take in this Big 12 game?
I think I've got BYU. I think they're more physical. I think they've got a better defense. I think they can do a lot offensively as well. I think when you look at like the tiers of Big 12 teams, I think BYU is probably in a tier higher than Cincinnati. I really like what Cincinnati's doing this year. I think they're moving in the right direction, but I just think BYU is just a better squad.
I'm going to go BYU as well. I think there's a tier of Texas Tech, BYU, and maybe Utah when they're healthy. Those are like the three best teams in the Big 12. So I'm going to take BYU as well on the road here. But I agree. I think Cincinnati's done solid. I was wrong about Scott Satterfield. I thought that was a horrendous hire when they hired him because he was doing nothing at Louisville. But it's worked out. He's done a pretty good job there. So we're on the same side here. BYU -2.5. Next up, USC versus Oregon. USC is getting 10 points here on the road versus Oregon. Yeah, I was kind of surprised with that line as well. What do you think about this game? Who are you going to take?
Oh man, this is hard. I don't like this game or this line at all. I think Dan Lanning is a crazy person, and I think he gets his team up for these games. Like I think his teams are usually super hyped for these games. And USC is a really good squad, but I think with the year that Oregon's having, like it's not been what I think a lot of folks in that locker room and in that fan base really wanted it to look like this year. And so I think putting it on Lincoln Riley would do a lot to tamp down some of those frustrations. So I'm going to take Oregon.
I'm going to take USC. I keep downing Oregon. I'm going to keep downing them. I'll just go down with the ship here. I think I was wrong on them preseason, but guess what? I'm not going to admit it until they're 11-1, 12-1 in the college football playoff, whatever it may be. So I'm going down with the ship. I'm going to take USC +10. I also think, honestly, Texas fans, you probably do want to root for Oregon here because that would eliminate USC. And right now you want Oregon, Indiana, Ohio State be the only teams from the Big Ten, and then Notre Dame or Oklahoma to lose. And I think you got a shot at 9-3. I think you really have a shot there because, again, 10-2 Miami over 9-3 Texas. I think 9-3 Texas should get in. I don't think Miami's that good, but who knows what the committee does. But I'm going to take USC. I just have that feeling plus 10.
Okay. So you don't want Texas in the playoff. I got
it. I know I'm anti-Tex for that take, but hey, I'll be, you know what? I'll root for Oregon, but either way I win because I'm right about the game or Texas, benefited. So
fair. I'll allow it.
Just like
gotta hedge your bets.
Hey, I should have done this when A&M was down. I really thought about putting a little bit of money on that. I don't know what the line was, but I bet I could have got a pretty decent payback with even $15-20 because it was probably plus 500 or 600. And hey, either way, A&M wins and I make money. A&M loses. Ha ha ha! You lost to South Carolina. I should have done it. I didn't do it. I'm going to do that from now on if that ever happens to a rival. But again, guys, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. Also, give Gerald a follow right there on his X or Blue Sky account, as well as his Longhorn Pod, Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio. Wherever you can find it, just like the voice of college football, type it in right there, Longhorn Pod. We really appreciate you guys doing that. Also, check out my X account right there. I really appreciate it. And again, guys, we're here every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And then Josh and Brandon are here every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And we're here every post-game show, just like the Georgia game. Even if it's a loss, we're here. We'll be here after Arkansas. Hopefully not a loss because that would be an ugly post-game show if we lose to Arkansas and it's the first one of the season. So please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. And we will be back, Gerald and I at least, on Saturday, probably about 7 p.m. Eastern time, 6 p.m. Central time to break down the game along with Josh and Brandon. And as always, guys, hook 'em.
Hook 'em.